Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial. Today's review would be Dark Phoenix, starring Sophie Turner, Sansa from Game of Thrones, for all of you who didn't know. Let's get into it. So this is pretty much the last movie from 20th Century Fox, because you know they was bought out by Disney. So this is pretty much their last movie that they're putting out. And I guess they pretty much want to sum up, because, XMen Origins that came out, and they pretty much if you've been following all of the movies, XMen Origins, they went back and started from the beginning of how X-Men came about. So now we reach to Dark Phoenix, and it's pretty much a remix. If you watch the original X-Men films, X-Men Last Stand, so that was the third installment. X-Men Last Stand, that was the third installment of the X-Men movies. And in that one, Jean Grey pretty much became the Phoenix, because in the end of part 2, she got sucked up in the water, and then she came back and she became the Phoenix. It was always inside of her. And so in that one, Wolverine was the only one that could withstand her destroying everything. She pretty much killed Professor X, and Wolverine the only one that could withstand her, because he can keep regenerating and healing himself, and he ended up killing her at the end of the Last Stand, X-Men The Last Stand. So now we have this one is pretty much a remake, and the setting starts off in 1975 when Jean Grey is a little kid, and she got her powers, and she got the powers where she could make somebody faint. So her mom, she was playing with the radio station or whatever, and she made her mom faint behind the wheel. But at the time you're watching a movie, you don't know that's what happened. You just think the mom had, wasn't paying attention and caused the accident. And then the mom was dead, and the dad was kind of messed up. But it just shows Jean Grey at the hospital as a little kid. And when you see Professor X, he comes in the wheelchair and grabs her as a little kid. Then it fast forward from 1975 to 1992. So that's about 17 years later. She was 8 years old. So 17 years later, that would bring her to she's about 25 now at, the bulk of the movie. So it shows in 1992, the U.S., they got some men going up in space to do whatever, and something knocks them off course. So whatever knocks them off course, they call on the X-Men to go up there to help them and retrieve them. So at this point, Mystique, Raven, she's like the lead of the X-Men at this point, her and Beast, and being as though they're the lead, they ask Professor X, is this safe? She don't want to jeopardize the team. And they go up in space, and the whole team is helping the other astronauts in their aircraft, helping them to get safe. So Nightcrawler is snatching them, using Quicksilver to go in and to snatch them to get back in their space shuttle. So what happens from there is there is some type of energy source out there, and they asking Jean to pretty much hold the ship intact so they could go get the captain. And when she goes to hold the ship intact, the energy force, Nightcrawler is able to get the captain, but he can't get her because it's too late. So the energy source pretty much absorbs into Jean or whatever, and it embraces Jean, and whatever power she already had, it magnified her powers. So in walks the Phoenix into her. So she instantly, she came back and said they retrieved her. Nightcrawler retrieved her. She was floating, and it said, "Is you okay?" And she came back and basically said, you know, "Is everybody okay?" They said, "Yeah." But what happened is, she said she felt great, but Hank, which is Beast, he seen on a monitor that her vitals was showing like increased and enhanced. So she's extremely powerful at this time. So these other creatures from another planet want to come and take over Earth. There's always some story like that. They're following the energy source. They can trace it to Earth, and they want to get the energy source themselves so they can wipe out everybody in Earth and then start their own new colony of people on Earth. They already have people in place at Earth and the FBI and stuff like that. So Jean is trying to deal with her new powers, but she can't control it. So she blanks out and she splats everybody, blows everybody back at this like little barn or, you know, out in the field. They're having fun. And then when she wakes up, she tells Scott pretty much, "I can't control it. I need to go out." She knows her dad is alive. So what Professor X did when he grabbed her, he put little blocks in her mind so that she can't see or remember that her dad was alive, and her dad pretty much, he didn't want nothing to do with her after she did what she did with the mom. So she sets off to go find her dad, because she's like, "My dad is alive. I know he's alive." So she goes see her dad, and when she goes see her dad, the darkness inside her start coming out. And so he's like, "All right, pretty much, all right, you want to go there? Go and find out what you really did." So that's when it tells you when she was little, she made her mom pass out behind the wheel, and that's what caused the accident to her mom. And he pretty much was through with her at that point. But Professor X, he gave up hope on her, but Professor X pretty much, he realized that, nah, that wasn't, you can't give up hope. You know what I'm saying? If you show her love, she'll be able to embrace it or whatever. So pretty much at that point, she went dark, and she was mad at the dad, but then the X-Men knew where she was going to be. So that's when you see Quicksilver running on the pieces of particles, because she's blowing everything up and she's going off. And then that's when you see Raven, Mystique, approach her, trying to calm her down. And what she do is she blows Mystique away, and Mystique lands into some wood and stabs her and kills her. So that was like right there, because I have to go back and search and look at some comics to see if that actually happened in the comics. I think that's something that they just added. I don't know why they did that, but somehow Mystique gotta come back to life or whatever. Somehow Mystique has to come back to life or whatever. I don't know if Mystique, part of Mystique powers is healing powers, but they had a funeral for Mystique and everything, so that was kind of weird. And then from there, Hank is upset because Mystique wanted to leave, and that Charles Xavier, that he was full of himself and he wanted all the prestige from the presidents and everything like that. Everybody, Jean Grey was a wanted person, and on top of that, she went to go see Magneto. Now Magneto, they gave Magneto an island, so Magneto got an island to himself. Him and the colony of people of himself. He stayed to himself, but she comes and she wants to learn from him. How did he fix not like killing people? And he pretty much just said, after a while, it wasn't satisfying just killing people, so I just stopped. So she's like, I can't stop. So she had blood on her from Mystique, and he kept asking her, well, whose blood is that? And she wouldn't tell him. So the military showed up, and she pretty much demolished them, and he he stopped her, like, you know, or whatever. So he told her get going and leave. And from there, after she left, Hank showed up, and that's when Magneto found out that she killed Mystique, and he was pissed. So now he wants to kill her. Hank wants to kill her too. So they end up getting their crew together, and they on their way to go kill her, and then Charles and them show up or whatever. So long story short, it was a decent film, and what ended up happening is, long story short, she eventually embraced the Phoenix, but she saved all of them, and she used it for the good, to protect everybody and help them live. And so she pretty much at that point vanished into thin air, and that's how it went off. She helped everybody. When you see on the commercial or the trailers that when it shows the train breaking up and stuff, that's her doing that or whatever. And the main character that she was fighting, she pretty much made that character go into vanish, and she pretty much became one of the strongest beings into the galaxy. And so she, instead of blowing up and vanishing that person on the Earth, she flew up into space so that she wouldn't affect everybody else. So she vanished that person up in space, but then she vanished as well. So at that point, they called the school Jean Grey School for the Youngsters, and Charles Xavier left the school in the care of Hank running the school, and he vanished. He went somewhere else. He was like in London somewhere or whatever, and Magneto showed up to play chess with him, and it pretty much went off like that. No post-credit scenes, and it showed in the sky, excuse me, the Phoenix flying in the sky. So I guess that was cool. Overall, it was a decent film, watchable. 2.5 out of 4 stars that I give it out of the 4-star rating system. Decent film. It's watchable. Till next time, tune in.